500 years ago, England was clawing its way out of centuries of chaos. After endless wars, deadly plagues, and crushing famines, the kingdom was finally settling into a fragile peace under its first Tudor king, Henry VII. A new class of hard-working tenant farmers was beginning to rise, feeding the nation with their crops while their sheep produced wool so valuable that it made up nearly half of England's entire wealth. This is what life was truly like for the average Tudor peasant. Real quick, if you enjoy these kinds of stories, hit that like button or subscribe and tell me where you're listening from and what time it is right now. Last week, I had comments from Seattle, Stockholm, and even Sydney. Time zones will never stop blowing my mind. All right, let's head back to England, around the year 1500. Trust me, it's going to be quite a ride. But first, get comfortable. Seriously, fix those pillows. Pull that blanket up tight. Where we're going, you'll want to be cozy. The darkness presses in around you like a heavy shroud. Not the soft darkness of a modern bedroom with streetlights sneaking through curtains, or the glow of a phone screen on the nightstand. No, this is total, complete darkness, the kind that swallows you whole. Your eyes snap open before dawn, not because you want to wake up, but because you have to. The monastery bells haven't even rung yet, but your body knows the rhythm of survival. 5 hours of sleep is all you get in winter. 6, if you're lucky, in summer. Your back aches from the lumpy straw mattress beneath you. It's nothing like the soft, memory foam bed you might be lying on now. This one scratches, pokes, and leaves you stiff and sore. You are Will Fletcher, a tenant farmer, bound to Mighton Abbey, and you're already behind on today's work. Mary, Mother of God, you mutter, your breath fogging the air as you fumble for the flint beside your bed. Give me strength. The cold is merciless. It gnaws at the tip of your nose, bites at your ears, and clings to every exposed inch of skin. The only warmth comes from the layers of rough wool blankets piled on top of you, and from the body of your wife, Eliza, sleeping beside you. You can hear her slow breathing, and beneath that, the soft, steady snores of your 2 children, curled up together on a pull-out trundle bed tucked beneath yours. Eliza, you whisper, gently shaking her shoulder. It's time. She groans but stirs, her voice thick with exhaustion. At just 26 years old, Eliza's hands are already twisted and calloused from endless labor. Her once smooth face is weathered by sun, wind, and years of hardship. She has buried 3 babies and miraculously managed to raise 2 living ones. And in your world, that counts as luck. I'll get the fire, she murmurs, her breath visible in the frigid air as she swings her feet onto the icy floorboards. The floor beneath your bare feet might as well be ice. No slippers waiting beside your bed, no thermostat to adjust. Just bitter cold seeping through the floorboards. Let me, you offer. The cows won't wait. In the main room below, yesterday's embers glow faintly beneath the ash. You kneel down, joints creaking, and take your flint and steel. 3 strikes, and you finally get a spark to catch on the charred cloth you keep as tinder. There, you whisper, as if afraid to startle the tiny flame. You feed it carefully with splinters of wood, then small sticks. No rushing this process. Lose the fire now, and the whole day turns harder. The flame casts weird, dancing shadows around the room. Not much to see. A table, some stools, a few wooden bowls on a shelf. Everything built by hand. Everything essential No decorations, no excess, just survival. Speaking of survival, your stomach growls. You've been fasting since yesterday's afternoon meal, 14 hours without food. But before you eat, there's work to be done. Father in heaven, bless this day and the work of our hands. You pray automatically, crossing yourself. The fire catches properly now, and you can see steam rising from your mouth with each word. You don't have a chimney. That would waste precious heat. Instead, smoke fills the upper part of the room before finding its way out through a hole in the thatch. Your eyes sting, but you're used to it. The smoke keeps the bugs out of the thatch anyway. Everything has a purpose. Will the water bucket frozen again? Eliza's voice comes from the corner where a wooden bucket sits with a solid sheet of ice on top. You mutter then quickly, "Sorry, Lord." Even your thoughts aren't private in Tudor England. God hears all, sees all. And the parish priest makes sure you never forget it. You grab a stick and break through the ice. The chickens need water. The cow needs water. The pig needs water. The family needs water. Just getting enough of it will take an hour of your morning. Before you can even think about that, you need to get dressed. Your linen shirt from yesterday doesn't smell great, but it'll have to do. Over it goes your wool tunic. Then, the heavy leather jerkin that keeps the worst of the wind out. Wool hose on your legs, tied with string to your undergarments. No elastic here. Leather shoes that never quite dry out completely. They're stiff with frost this morning. The pigs are squealing, Eliza says, now up and moving around the room with practiced efficiency. They can smell snow coming. Can't be, you say, looking toward the single small window, just a hole with a wooden shutter. No glass. We need at least another month without snow, or we'll lose half the livestock. Tell that to the sky, she replies. Nodding toward the window, you push open the shutter, and sure enough, heavy gray clouds hang low over the distant hills. Mary's mercy, you breathe. If snow comes early, your carefully measured grain stores won't last. You've seen what happens to families who run out of food before spring. Sometimes they just disappear. Other times, they're found when the thaw comes, huddled together in their beds. Oh, wait. Someone's at the door. John, your farmhand. Really just a boy of 14, but strong as an ox and cheaper to feed. Master Fletcher, he says, stamping his feet against the cold. The brown cow's not looking right. Something in her eye. And so it begins. The daily battle against a world that seems determined to take everything from you. Disease, weather, accident, the greedy tax collector, the monastery demanding their share, all of it waiting to strike. Let me see, you say, pulling on your cap. No time for breakfast yet. Outside the pre-dawn world is silent, except for the animals. Your breath hangs in clouds before your face. As you cross the muddy yard to the cowshed, the smell hits you first. Warm animal, manure, hay, all mingling together in a not entirely unpleasant funk that means life and food and survival. John's right. The cow's eye is weeping something yellowish. If she dies, that's a quarter of your yearly income gone in an instant. But Tudor farmers don't have vets. They have generations of passed down knowledge and a healthy dose of prayer. Eliza, you call back toward the house. Bring the irop puss. While waiting, you run your hands over the cow's hide, feeling for other signs of illness. She's your most valuable possession, worth more than everything inside your house combined. Is she fevered? Eliza asks, bringing a small clay pot of greenish paste that smells sharply of herbs. Don't think so, you reply, placing your cheek against the cow's neck, still eating too, or St. Bridge. Protect her, Eliza murmurs, making the sign of the cross over the animal before applying the pus. St. Bridge, patron saint of dairy maids and cattle. just one of dozens of saints you invoke daily for everything from toothaches to good weather. The monastery bells finally ring in the distance, marking the hour of prime, the first official hour of prayer. Though you've already been up for what feels like ages, the sound carries across the frost-covered fields, a reminder that everything, even time itself, belongs to God and his earthly representatives. I need to milk her anyway, Eliza says. Then start the bread. You nod. I'll check the sheep before I eat. Neither of you says what you're thinking. If the sheep aren't healthy, you can't pay your rent to the monastery. If you can't pay the rent, you lose everything. By the time you reach the sheep pen, gray light is finally seeping into the world. Your flock isn't large, 30 animals, but their wool is what keeps you afloat. England runs on wool. Ships carry it to Flanders and Italy, where it becomes fine cloth that returns at prices you couldn't afford in 10 lifetimes. The sheep huddle together against the cold, their breath creating a cloud of steam above them. You count automatically, 29. Bloody hell, you mutter. Then quickly, forgive me, Lord. One missing sheep might not sound like much, but it's the difference between making rent and not, between eating and starving, between keeping your teeny and joining the growing ranks of landless laborers who wander from village to village, begging for work. John, you call, and the boy appears instantly. One's missing, the pregnant ewe with the notch in her ear. His face falls. He was supposed to count them at dusk. I swear they were all here at locking time. Master Fletcher, you don't have time to scold him. Get Tom and search the north field. I'll check the woods. As you hurry across the frozen ground, your empty stomach protests. Still no breakfast, and now it might be hours before you eat. But hunger is a familiar companion in Tudor England. You've never known what it's like to be properly full. Not fat, just satisfied. For more than a few weeks after harvest, the woods are silent and forbidding in the half-light. If wolves took your sheep, there'll be nothing left but wool tufts and blood on the snow. If human thieves took her, she's already slaughtered and hidden away in some desperate family's larder. But there, a movement between the trees. You freeze, straining your eyes. Thank the saints. You breathe. The missing ewe is tangled in a bramble patch, bleeding pathetically. As you approach, you see she's unharmed, but thoroughly stuck. Her wool, your livelihood, is snagged in dozens of places. Easy, girl, you murmur, drawing your knife to cut her free. The blade is dull. Metal tools are expensive and precious. You make a mental note to take it to the blacksmith in the village, though that's another expense you can ill afford. By the time you lead the sheep back to the pen, the sun is properly up, revealing your world in all its muddy, hard, Scrabble glory. Your farm is small by modern standards, just 5 acres of enclosed fields that you rent from the monastery, plus grazing rights on the common land. The farmhouse is timber framed with WLE and Dorb walls, basically woven sticks plastered with a mixture of clay, dung, and straw. The roof is thatched, needing replacement soon. There's your vegetable garden, the pigsty, the chicken coop, and the cow shed. It's not much, but it's more than most people have. You're not a peasant. Not really. You're a Y-man farmer, the emerging middle class of Tudor England. You can read a little, do basic sums, and if the harvests are good for a few years running, you might even save enough to buy some land of your own one day. John and Tom return from their search, relief washing over their faces when they see the recovered ewe. She's back then, Tom says, an older man missing most of his teeth. He's been with your family since your father's time. Good thing, too, Abbott wouldn't take kindly to a short count this year. You nod grimly. The monastery owns this land, and their agent will be around. After shearing time to collect their due, a quarter of your wool, plus coin for rent. Breakfast ready? Tom asks hopefully. Should be, you reply, suddenly aware of the hollow ache in your own belly. Let's go see. Back at the house, the scene has transformed. The fire blazes properly now, filling the room with blessed warmth. The rich smell of baking bread makes your mouth water instantly. Eliza has been busy. A pot of pottage bubbles over the fire, a thin stew of whatever vegetables could be found and stretched with barley. A pitcher of ale sits on the table, not the strong stuff, just the small beer everyone drinks all day instead of water. Found her then? Eliza asks, looking up from where she's teaching your daughter, Agnes, to spin wool on a drop spindle. At 6 years old, Agnes is already learning the skills she'll need her whole life. Your son Edward, just 4, is feeding kindling into the fire under his mother's watchful eye. Caught in the brambles, you confirm, taking a deep draught of ale. It's weak but nourishing, with bits of barley floating in it, not cold and crisp, like modern beer. This is room temperature, cloudy, and alive with yeast. It's also safer than water from the well, which has made the whole family sick before. The bread isn't fancy, dark, dense, and a bit sour. No fine white bread for tenant farmers. But it fills the belly and gives strength for the day's labor. You tear off a chunk and dip it in the pottage. The cow's eye looks better already, Eliza says, sitting down beside you. That pus is working. You nod, mouthful. Her herb knowledge has saved your livestock more than once. It saved your children, too. Many women with her skill might be accused of witchcraft. But Eliza is careful to say a prayer to the appropriate saint before applying any remedy. The line between accepted folk medicine and dangerous sorcery is thin and constantly moving. Snow's coming, you say after swallowing. Need to get the rest of those turnips up today? Eliza's face tightens with worry. That means slaughtering the pig early. We won't be able to feed it through a long winter. I know you sigh. You'd hoped to fatten it more before killing it. A skinny pig means less meat to salt away, less fat for rush lights and cooking. Tomorrow, maybe, after we see how much snow. The meal is over too quickly, but there's no time to linger. The sun is fully up now, and every daylight hour is precious. John, you and Tom start on the turnips. You instruct. I need to fix that hole in the cowshed roof before the snow comes. As they head out, Eliza catches your arm. The monastery messenger came while you were looking for the sheep, she says quietly. Abbot wants extra wool this year, says the king has increased taxes. Your heart sinks. Extra wool means less to sell at market, less to make into cloth for your family. It means thinner blankets next winter, fewer coins to tuck away in the small wooden box hidden beneath the floorboard. Did he say how much more? You ask, keeping your voice steady for the children's sake. Another 10th, she replies, and he wants 2 cheeses when I make them in spring. You close your eyes briefly. The monastery already takes so much, but what choice do you have? They own the land. They have the power to evict you if you protest. We'll manage, you say, though you're not sure how. We always do. Outside again. The day has warmed slightly, enough that your breath no longer freezes in front of you. You gather your tools, a hammer made by the village blacksmith, wooden pegs you carved yourself during the winter evenings, some bundles of reeds for patching the roof. As you work, your mind races with calculations. How many sheep will you need to shear to satisfy both the monastery and have enough left to sell? How long will the grain last? If snow comes early, should you slaughter the pig tomorrow, or risk waiting another week to fatten it? This is the constant mental arithmetic of Tudor survival. One mistake, one bad decision, One stretch of awful weather, and everything you've worked for could disappear. The hole in the roof is worse than you thought. Squirrels have gotten in and damaged more of the thatch. As you work, a light snow begins to fall, earlier than you feared. But at least it's gentle so far. From your perch on the roof, you can see your whole world. The fields stretching away now dusted with white. The smoke rising from cottage chimneys in the distant village. The imposing stone walls of Merton Abbey on the horizon, solid and eternal, while peasant lives flicker briefly like candle flames. The monastery bells ring again, marking Tour, the third hour of prayer for the monks. The day is divided into 8 sacred periods. For you, it's simply divided into work. A shout from the turnip field draws your attention. John is waving excitedly. Either they've found a turnip of remarkable size, or there's trouble. Given your luck today, you're betting on trouble. With a sigh, you carefully climb down from the roof, your body already aching. Though the day has barely begun, Tudor farmers don't grow old. They just get more bent, more weathered, more acquainted with pain, until one winter, they simply don't wake up. What is it? You call, making your way across the muddy yard, the snow already turning to slush beneath your feet. Found something? John shouts back, in with the turnips. You quicken your pace, curious despite your weariness. As you reach the field, you see John and Tom standing over what looks like a small, mud-covered chest, half buried in the soil, digging for turnips, and hit something hard. Tom explains, pointing at the object. Thought it was a rock at first. Your heart beats faster as you kneel beside it. Items buried in fields usually mean one of 2 things in Tudor England. Either someone was hiding valuables during one of the many wars and never returned for them, or it's something with a more sinister purpose, items used for witchcraft, or forbidden Catholic relics, hidden during the religious upheavals. Should we open it? John asks, eyes wide with excitement. You hesitate, making the sign of the cross. If it's treasure, it legally belongs to the king. Not reporting it is a crime. If it's something heretical or magical, having it on your property could mean accusation and ruin. Master Fletcher, a new voice calls from the direction of the road. You look up to see a man on horseback approaching. Geoffrey Wells, the monastery steward, come to inspect the farms under his jurisdiction. Your heart sinks. Of all the times for him to make his rounds, it has to be now, with a mysterious box half dug from your field. Hide it, you hiss to Tom. Fill in the hole now. As Tom and John scramble to conceal their find, you straighten up and plaster a differential smile on your face. The monastery steward isn't technically nobility, but he might as well be, for all the power he holds over your life. Good morning, Master Wells. You call, walking to meet him at the edge of the field. God's blessings on you this fine day. He doesn't smile back. Fletcher, he acknowledges curtly. I see the snow has found you too. Just a dusting, you reply, trying to sound unconcerned. We'll have the last of the harvest in before any real weather comes. Wells looks past you to where Tom and John are now innocently pulling turnips, the disturbed area smoothed over. His eyes narrow slightly, but he doesn't comment on it. I've come about the additional tithe, he says instead. The abbot requires confirmation that you received the message. You nod, keeping your face carefully neutral, despite the anger and fear churning in your stomach. My wife told me another 1/10 of the wool, and 2 cheeses come spring, and you'll comply. It's not really a question. Of course, you reply because what other answer is there? The monastery has always been fair to us. The lie tastes bitter on your tongue. Wells studies you for a moment, then nods. See that the wool is of good quality this time, Fletcher. Last year's offering had too many short fibers. You bite back a retort. Last year's offering was the best you could provide after sickness went through the flock. But arguing with the steward is like arguing with the weather, pointless and potentially dangerous. It will be our finest. You promise instead? He turns his horse to leave, then pauses. Oh, and Fletcher, the abbot has heard rumors of hidden treasures being found in these fields, old Roman coins and such. Remember that all such findings belong to the crown and must be reported. Your blood runs cold. How could he know about the chest you just found? Unless he's simply fishing, making a general reminder. Of course, Master Wells, you say, keeping your voice steady, though we found nothing but stones and turnips in our fields. He gives you one last searching look before riding away, his horse's hooves splashing through the thickening slush. As soon as he's out of sight, you hurry back to Tom and John. Did he see? Tom asks in a whisper. I don't think so, you reply. But he mentioned hidden treasures, said they belong to the crown. John's face falls, so we can't keep it. We don't even know what it is yet, you remind him, and we're not digging it up now. Tonight after dark, when no one's watching, they nod in agreement, and you all return to work, though your mind is hardly on the turnips now. What's in that chest? Roman coins would be valuable, but dangerous to try to spend. Religious items could be even more dangerous to possess, depending on which way the religious winds are blowing this year. As you work, the snow falls more heavily, settling on your shoulders and cap. Your fingers grow numb, despite the woolen mittens Eliza knitted last winter. The daylight, precious and brief in November, is already starting to fade, though it's barely past midday. This is life as a Tudor tenant farmer. Constant work, constant worry, constant calculations about survival. You're better off than many, with a secure tenancy and healthy children. But you're still just one bad harvest, one serious illness, one accusation of wrongdoing away from losing everything. As the monastery bells ring out again across the snowy fields, you straighten your aching back and look toward the small farmhouse, where smoke rises steadily from the hole in the roof. Inside, Eliza will be spinning wool, teaching Agnes, keeping Edward from mischief, perhaps starting to prepare the evening pottage. Your world is small but precious, and now there's a mysterious chest buried in your turnip field, something that could bring wealth or ruin, depending on what it contains and what you choose to do with it. As darkness approaches on this early winter day in Tudor England, you can't help but wonder if your life is about to change forever. The bells ring out once more across the snow-covered landscape, marking the passage of another hour. For the monks in their stone abbey, it's a call to prayer for you. It's just another reminder that time passes, seasons change, and survival is never guaranteed in this world of mud and wool and endless toil. The snow falls heavier now, big flakes that catch on your eyelashes and melt against your warm breath. The last of the turnips are being pulled from the ground, mud-caked and solid in your hands. Each one represents meals that will keep your family alive when nothing grows. You count them instinctively as they fill the rough wooden barrero. 73, 74, 75. That's it for this row, Tom says, his beard now flecked with snow. His hands are cracked and bleeding from the cold earth. But he doesn't complain. No Tudor farmer would. Pain is just part of staying alive. You nod, looking toward the small mound of disturbed soil where the chest lies buried. The snow is already covering the evidence of your find. Nature conspiring to keep secrets. One more row, you decide, pointing to the final stretch of field. Then we take these in before they freeze. John groans but doesn't argue. The boy has been with you For 3 years now, since his father died of the sweating sickness that swept through the village. You feed him, clothe him, teach him your trade. In return, he works from dawn until dusk. It's how you learned farming from your own father, the only apprenticeship most will ever know. The mysterious chest tugs at your mind as you work, but there's no time for distractions. Life in 1500 operates on razor-thin margins. One moment of carelessness, a forgotten chore, an untended animal, a neglected repair can mean the difference between survival and disaster. As you pull the last turnip free, something glints in the soil. You freeze, glancing around to make sure no one from the monastery is watching. Then carefully brush away the dirt. Holy Mother, you breathe. A small silver coin sits in your palm, black with age, but unmistakably valuable. Roman, maybe, or Saxon. From a time before, even the Normans came. Tom appears at your shoulder, eyes widening. That worth something? More than I earn in 2 months, you whisper, turning it over. The worn face of some long-dead emperor stares back at you. The monastery would claim it, Tom says, his voice low. King's men too. Aye, you reply, closing your fist around it. The metal warms against your skin, already feeling like it belongs to you, like it was meant for you to find it after centuries buried in this soil. You slip the coin into the small leather pouch tied at your belt beneath your jerkin, where it won't be seen. Is this theft? Technically, yes. The law says treasure belongs to the crown, but the law was made by men who've never watched their children go hungry, never counted turnips as if they were gold. Not a word, you tell Tom and John. Not even to Eliza. Not yet. They nod solemnly. They understand. In Tudor England, loose lips don't just sink ships. They hang men. The farmyard is a churning mess of mud and slush by the time you return with the turnips. Your boots make sucking sounds with each step, and the barrero wheels leave deep ruts in the muck. The smell of wood smoke and cooking fills the air, mixing with the earthy scent of livestock and the metallic tang of approaching heavier snow. Get those inside, you instruct John, nodding toward the root cellar dug into the side of a small rise behind the house. Layer them with straw mind. Any that got nicked, set aside for eating first. As he hauls the barrero away, you turn to Tom. Check the animals once more before dark. Make sure everything's secure. Snow like this brings wolves closer to the farms. The older man nods, already moving toward the cowshed. At 60, he's ancient by the standards of your time. His knowledge as valuable as any tool on the farm. Inside the house, warmth hits you like a physical force. The central fire blazes merrily, and the smell of baking breaks through even your snowed nose. Your mouth waters instantly. Will, thank God, Eliza says, looking up from where she's stuffing dried grass into Edward's worn-out shoes. I was worried with the snow coming so hard. Takes more than a bit of weather to keep me from my dinner. You reply with a wink that makes her smile, despite the worry lines etched around her eyes. Agnes sits by the fire, carefully wrapping rushlights, twisted reeds dipped in sheep fat that will provide your only illumination after sunset. At 6, her fingers are nimble enough for the task, though her face shows the intense concentration of a child determined to please. Look, Papa, she says proudly, holding up a completed rushlight. I made 7 already. Good girl, you say, ruffling her hair. Clever hands like your mother. The coin seems to burn against your hip. A secret weight. You should tell Eliza. You've never kept anything from her before, but something holds you back. Fear, perhaps, or the simple desire to protect her from dangerous knowledge. The steward came. You tell her instead, pulling off your sodden cap and moving closer to the fire. Asked about the extra tithe, Eliza's face tightens, almost imperceptibly. What did you tell him? What could I tell him that will pay? She nods, her hands never stopping their work, even as she speaks. Tudor women don't have the luxury of giving conversations their full attention. There's always something to mend, stir, clean, or make. I've been thinking, she says carefully, if we sell the embroidered cloth I've been working on, we might make up some of the difference. You frown. She's been saving that cloth, an extraordinary piece, worked on during rare moments of rest over the past year. It was meant to be Agnes's dowry contribution someday. No, you say firmly, we're not that desperate yet. The unspoken, yet hangs in the air between you. How quickly fortunes can change in this world. We could sell some ale, she suggests instead. I've got the good batch almost ready. You consider this. Eliza's ale is exceptional, better than most you can get at the village alehouse. With the Martin Fair coming in 2 weeks, you might fetch a decent price. Maybe you concede, though we'll need to be careful. The monastery doesn't like competition with their own brew house. The monastery doesn't need to know everything, she replies, with a rare flash of defiance. You smile despite yourself. This is why you married her. Not just because your fathers arranged it, but because beneath her practical exterior beats a heart as fierce as any warrior's. No, you agree, thinking of the coin hidden in your pouch. They certainly don't. The door bangs open and John staggers in, arms full of turnips. These need cooking, he announces. Got damaged in the digging. More for the pot. Then Eliza says, pragmatically, taking them from him. Nothing goes to waste in a Tudor household. Nothing can afford to. As she begins to scrape the mud from the vegetables, you move to the small wooden chest in the corner, the only piece of furniture with a lock. Inside are your most valuable possessions, the deed to your teeny, carefully wrapped in oiled cloth, a small silver cup that belonged to your grandfather, 3 silver pennies saved over as many years, and a knife with a bone handle used only on feast days. You add the Roman coin to this meager treasure, tucking it beneath the cloth, wrapped deed where even Eliza is unlikely to look. As you close the chest, your fingers linger on the lock. One small box of valuables, the sum total of what you've managed to accumulate in a lifetime of backbreaking work. Papa, can you tell us about the olden days? Edward asks, looking up from where he's been quietly playing with carved wooden animals on the floor before the big sickness came. You smile sadly. Even at 4, he's heard the stories of the Black Death that emptied whole villages just over a century ago, the plague that killed so many that the survivors could demand better wages, better conditions, the plague that ironically improved life for those who lived through it. Those weren't the olden days, lad, you tell him, settling onto a stool by the fire. That was your great-grandfather's time. The real olden days were when the Romans were here, building roads straight as arrows across the land, like the one that goes to London, Agnes asks, setting aside her rushlights to listen. Just like that, you nod. They say the Romans had magic, not devil's magic, mind, you add quickly, making the sign of the cross. But knowledge we've lost. They could make water run uphill through pipes. They had buildings tall as the Abbey Church, but made all of marble and buried treasure. Edward asks, eyes wide. Your heart skips a beat. What makes you ask that? Tom told me. Said Romans buried coins and jewels when they left, so the Saxons wouldn't get them. You shoot a look at John, who shrugs helplessly. News travels fast, even when it's supposed to be secret. In a world without privacy, where families sleep in one room and village houses stand shoulder to shoulder, keeping anything hidden is nearly impossible. Sometimes they did, you say carefully, but most was found long ago, or stolen, or lost forever. Not all of it, John murmurs. Too quiet for the children to hear. You silence him with a look. Go help Tom with the animals, you tell him. Make sure the sheep pen is secure. Once he's gone, Eliza gives you a searching look. What aren't you telling? Me, Will Fletcher. Before you can answer, a pounding comes at the door. Your heart jumps into your throat. The monastery steward returning. The sheriff. Some neighbor who's seen your find and wants to report it or claim a share. Tom bursts in, his face flushed with cold and excitement. Riders coming from the abbey. How many? You ask, already reaching for your cap. 3. Looks like the abbot himself, among them by the fine horse he's on. Your blood runs cold. The abbot never makes personal visits to tenant farms. Never. Something is very wrong. Get those turnips out of sight, you tell Eliza, gesturing to the vegetables still waiting to be scraped. If the abbot sees your full harvest, he might increase your tithe again and hide the good ale. She moves quickly, efficiently, years of practice making her swift. The children, sensing the tension, press themselves against the wall, trying to become invisible. You step outside just as 3 horses come into the yard. Massive beasts compared to your single plow horse, their breath steaming in the snowy air. The center rider is indeed Abbot William, a corpulent man in fine wool robes lined with fox fur. On either side, ride monks in a simpler garb, though still cleaner and better fed than any farmer. God's blessings on this house, the abbot intones, as he awkwardly dismounts his sandal feet, sinking into the mud despite the wooden patterns strapped to their bottoms. And on you, Father Abbot, you reply, bowing your head. You honor us with your presence. The abbot's eyes sweep across your farm, taking in the patched roof of the cowshed, the thin smoke from your chimney, the barren fields now dusted with snow. Is he calculating their worth, judging your stewardship? A modest holding, he remarks, though whether with approval or disdain is impossible to tell. Yet I hear you're a man of means, Fletcher. Your mouth goes dry. Means, Father. I'm but a simple tenant. The abbot smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Come now. My steward tells me your sheep produce the finest wool in the parish. Your wife's cheese commands the highest price at market. You've even taken in an orphan boy. Very Christian of you. God provides. You say non-committally. Indeed he does. The abbot agrees. And it is through his church that such provisions flow. Which brings me to the purpose of my visit. Here it comes. You think more demands, more tithes, more impossible burdens on your already strained resources. The monastery requires stone for repairs to the north transept. The abbot continues. Your fields, I'm told, are particularly rich in good building stone just beneath the soil. You stare at him, uncomprehending at first, then understanding dawns, horrifying in its implications. You want to dig up my fields? You ask, forgetting proper difference in your shock. But Father, the spring planting will proceed around our quarrying. The abbot interrupts smoothly. We'll take no more than an acre. The southeast corner, I think. where the soil is thinnest, an acre, 1/5 of your arable land rendered useless for a season, maybe longer. The rental fee won't be reduced. Of course, the tithes will remain the same. You'll simply be expected to produce the same amount from less land. And if they dig in the southeast corner, they'll find the chest. It's a great honor, one of the monks adds, mistaking your silence for humility. The stone from your land will support God's house. You force yourself to nod, to murmur appropriate thanks. Inside, your mind races. If they find the chest, find the coin you've already taken. When would this work begin? Father, you ask, trying to keep your voice steady. After Candlemas, the abbot replies. The ground will be too frozen before then. Candlemas, the 2nd of February, still 3 months away. You have time at least to figure out what to do about the chest, but the loss of the acre remains a devastating blow. We shall pray for mild weather, you say, because it's expected. The abbot nods, apparently satisfied with your acquiescence. What choice did you have, really? Refuse the church? Refuse your landlord? Impossible. One more matter, the abbot says, as if an afterthought. There are rumors of old treasures being found in these parts. Roman artifacts, pagan trinkets. Your heart nearly stops beside you. Tom shifts uncomfortably. Anything found belongs rightfully to the church, the abbot continues. Such items often carry demonic influence and must be properly blessed or destroyed. You understand? Of course, Father, you manage to say, though we've found nothing but stones and turnips in our fields. The same words you gave the steward earlier, now repeated to the abbot himself. The lie feels weightier this time, more dangerous. Good, good, the abbot says. Nevertheless, I shall send Brother Thomas tomorrow to bless your fields. A precaution only. Your blood runs cold. This is no routine blessing. They're searching for something, but how could they know? Did someone see you find the coin? Is there a spy among your own people? We would be honored. You lie, bowing your head to hide the fear in your eyes. As the abbot and his entourage remount and ride away, the snow falling heavier around them, you stand frozen in the yard. Tom approaches, his face grave. They know, he says quietly. They suspect. You correct him. It's not the same thing. What will you do about the chest? You glance around to ensure no one else is listening. Tonight after dark, we dig it up and move it. And if it's too heavy, a valid concern, if it's filled with coins or metal, it might take several men to lift it. Then we empty it and rebury the chest. You decide. Either way, it can't stay where it is. Tom nods, then hesitates. And the coin you already took. Your hand moves instinctively to your belt, where the pouch conceals the outline of the ancient silver piece. What coin? You ask pointedly. He understands. Some secrets are best kept even from friends. Inside the house, Eliza is stirring the pottage pot with quick, anxious movements. She doesn't ask what the abbot wanted. She heard everything through the thin walls. The children are subdued, sensing the tension in the air. We'll manage, you tell her, the same words you always say in the face of new hardships. We always do, she nods, but doesn't look at you. The soup's ready is all she says. Dinner is a quiet affair. The pottage is thin, mostly turnips, and barley with a small piece of salt pork for flavor. You have bread, too, dark and dense, nothing like the fine white Manet loaves enjoyed by the monks, but it fills the belly, gives strength for the work ahead. As you eat, You can't help calculating losses in your head. An acre of land means 20 bushels of barley next harvest. 20 bushels is 100 loaves of bread or 200 gallons of ale. It's the difference between comfortable survival and precarious subsistence. And that's assuming the monastery actually restricts itself to just 1 acre and returns the land in usable condition afterward. Neither is guaranteed. The coin in your pouch seems heavier with each passing moment. What if there are more in the chest, enough to buy land elsewhere? Land not controlled by the monastery, or at least enough to make up for the lost acre? It's a dangerous thought. Tenant farmers don't escape their conditions. They don't suddenly rise to become landowners. The social order is fixed, ordained by God himself, or so the church teaches. Yet, as you look at your children's faces in the firelight, at Eliza's worn hands and premature wrinkles, you can't help wondering, what if we should sleep early, you announce, setting aside your wooden bowl. Long day tomorrow. No one argues. In winter, with darkness falling by mid-afternoon, early bedtimes are normal. But tonight, you have other reasons for wanting the household settled. As the children are tucked into their truckle bed, and Tom and John bed down on the straw pallets near the fire, you catch Eliza's eye. A silent communication passes between you, the kind only possible after years of marriage. She nods slightly, understanding without words that something is happening tonight, something she shouldn't ask about directly. I'll bank the fire, she says, giving you the excuse to be the last one awake. Hours pass. The house grows quiet, except for the soft breathing of sleepers and the occasional pop from the dying fire. Outside, the snow continues to fall, muffling the world in white silence. When you're certain everyone is asleep, you slip from beneath the woolen blankets, careful not to disturb Eliza, though you suspect she's only pretending to sleep. You dress silently in the dark, a skill learned through a lifetime of pre-dawn awakenings. The cold hits you like a slap as you ease the door open and step outside. The snow is nearly knee-deep now, unusual for so early in the season. Bad luck. It will make digging more difficult, but good luck too. It will cover your tracks by morning. Tom is already waiting by the cowshed, a spade in his hands and a hooded lantern hanging from a pole stuck in the snow. The tiny flame inside is carefully screened to just a pinpoint of light, visible to you, but not to any curious asses at the monastery or neighboring farms. John, you whisper, noticing the boy's absence. Sleeping, Tom replies. Thought it best. Boys his age talk. You nod, grateful for Tom's discretion. Let's go. The walk to the field takes twice as long as usual, your feet breaking through the snow crust with every step. The silence is absolute, broken only by your labored breathing and the soft crunch of snow. The turnip field looks different under starlight and snow, but Tom unerringly leads you to the spot where the chest lies buried. Without a word, you both begin to dig, taking turns with the single spade while the other keeps watch. The ground isn't fully frozen yet, but it's hard going. Your breath clouds around your face, your hands growing numb despite woolen mittens. Sweat forms under your layers, then turns icy cold against your skin. Then thunk, metal striking wood. There, Tom whispers, dropping to his knees to clear snow and soil with his hands. The chest is smaller than you expected, about the size of a bread loaf. Not a treasure chest from children's tales, but a simple wooden box bound with corroded metal. It looks ancient, the wood dark and petrified with age. Careful, you caution as Tom pries at the lid. Might be fragile. With a soft creak, the lid lifts, and golden light spills out so bright after the darkness that you both gasp and shield your eyes. When your vision clears, You look down at the contents of the chest, not coins, not jewelry or goblets, or any treasure you would recognize. Instead, a smooth orb of what looks like glass, but clearer than any glass you've ever seen. It glows from within, pulsing gently like a heartbeat, casting your shadows, long and strange, across the snowy field. Mother of God, Tom breathes, making the sign of the cross. Witchcraft. You can't speak, can't move. The glowing orb seems to call to you. It's light, warm, and inviting. Despite the frigid night air, we need to close it, Tom says urgently. Cover it up. Tell the abbot. This is devil's work, Will. His words break your trance. No, you say firmly. And we don't know what it is. It's unnatural is what it is. Tom hisses, backing away from the chest. No good Christian should touch such a thing. You stare at the orb, mesmerized by its pulsing glow. What is it? Roman, older, something left by the fairy folk that old women still whisper about, or truly something demonic? A test of your faith. In that moment, a decision forms in your mind, one that will change everything. Go back to the house. You tell Tom. Tell no one what we found. If anyone asks, we came out to check on the animals because we heard wolves. What are you going to do? He asks, his voice shaking. You close the chest, shutting away the golden light, plunging the field back into darkness. I'm going to keep it safe, you say, until I figure out what it is. As you rebury the chest in a different spot, closer to the house under the apple tree, where you can keep an eye on it, a strange sense of destiny settles over you. Whatever this glowing orb is, it's now bound to your fate. And tomorrow, when Brother Thomas comes to bless your fields, the real test will begin. Morning comes too soon, as it always does. Your sleep was fitful, haunted by dreams of golden light and stern-faced monks. Beside you, Eliza stirs, her warmth the only comfort in the pre-dawn chill. You were out late, she murmurs, not opening her eyes. There's no accusation in her voice, just the simple observation of a woman who knows her husband's rhythms as well as her own heartbeat. Thought I heard wolves, you reply, the lie sour on your tongue. In 16 years of marriage, you've rarely kept secrets from her. Her eyes open now, studying your face in the dim light, filtering through the shutters. Did you find any? No, you say, looking away. Just the wind. I think she's quiet for a moment. The children were asking about the abbot's visit. What did you tell them? That the monastery needs stone, that we'll have less land to farm come spring. She sits up, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. I didn't tell them we might starve. The bluntness of her words hits you like a physical blow. It's the unspoken fear that's kept you awake. Less land means less food. Less food means hard choices about who eats and who doesn't, unless the glowing orb changes everything. But how? Is it valuable, dangerous, a blessing, or a curse? We won't starve, you say with more confidence than you feel. I'll figure something out. Before she can press further, there's a commotion downstairs. The sound of the door opening, voices raised in greeting. Brother Thomas has arrived earlier than expected. You dress hastily, conscious of Eliza's questioning gaze, following your movements. Downstairs, the monk stands, warming his hands by your fire, a thin man with a scholar's stoop and eyes that miss nothing. God's blessings on this house, he intones as you descend the ladder from the sleeping loft. And on you, Brother Thomas, you reply, bowing your head respectfully while your mind races. Did he bring others to search the fields? Has Tom talked in his sleep? But the monk seems to be alone, his brown robes dusted with snow, a small satchel, his only possession. The abbot sends me to bless your fields, he says, his voice neutral, a protection against unforeseen discoveries. Your mouth goes dry, of course, though there's little to see under all this snow. Snow covers many things, Brother Thomas agrees, his gaze uncomfortably direct. But the eyes of God see through all concealments. Is it your imagination, or is there a specific emphasis on the word all? You force a smile, gesturing toward the crude wooden table, where John is already setting out bowls for the morning pottage. Will you break your fast with us before the blessing? The monk hesitates, clearly torn between maintaining his separation from common folk and the warmth of your fire on a bitter morning. A small repast would be welcome, he concedes finally, though I observe the morning fast. Just a crust of bread, perhaps, as Eliza serves breakfast, the same thin barley pottage as last night, but now with a precious egg cracked into each bowl for protein. You watch Brother Thomas from the corner of your eye. He takes only bread, as promised, but his gaze lingers on your food with barely disguised longing. Despite their reputation for asceticism, many monks eat better than farmers. The monastery's kitchens are famous for their roasted meats, fine white bread, and imported wines. This one, at least, seems genuinely committed to his vows. Your farm prospers under God's grace, Brother Thomas remarks, looking around your modest home. Many have less, and many have more, you reply immediately, regretting the hint of bitterness in your tone. If the monk notices, he doesn't comment. Instead, he turns his attention to Agnes and Edward, who are eating quietly, stealing glances at this unusual visitor. Have you been teaching the children their prayers? He asks Eliza. Of course, brother. They know the Paternoster and Ave Maria in both English and Latin. It's a slight exaggeration. The children stumble over the Latin, but Brother Thomas seems satisfied. Good, good. And they attend Mass every Sunday. Without fail, you answer, though there have been Sundays when illness or foul weather kept you all at home. Such absences are technically sins requiring confession. But the village priest, Father Stephen, is understanding of farmers' lives in ways the monastery often isn't. The blessed saints protect those who honor them, Brother Thomas says, directing his words to the children, especially those who keep their eyes lowered and their tongues still when adults are speaking. Is there meaning hidden in this seemingly innocent admonition? A warning about secrets and those who reveal them? Once breakfast is finished, the monk rises, now to the blessing. Outside, the world is transformed. The snowfall has stopped, leaving behind a pristine blanket of white covering fields, roofs, and trees. In the distance, the monastery buildings rise against the pale blue sky, their stone walls and slate roofs untouched by the temporary beauty of snow. Brother Thomas produces a small vial of holy water from his satchel and begins to walk the boundaries of your farm, sprinkling droplets and murmuring Latin prayers. You follow a respectful distance behind, your breath clouding in the frigid air. When you reach the turnip field, now just a white expanse, indistinguishable from the surrounding land, your heart beats faster. The monk pauses, looking around with narrowed eyes. The abbot says there may be old pagan artifacts in this area, he says conversationally. Things buried long ago when the Romans or even earlier peoples worshipped false gods. I've never found anything like that, you reply, the lie coming easier this time. Brother Thomas nods, then kneels in the snow, pressing his ear to the ground, as if listening. The action is so unexpected that you simply stare, unsure what to do. After a long moment, He stands, brushing snow from his robes. The land speaks to those who know how to listen. He says cryptically, "Today, it whispers of change. Change." You echo, trying to keep your voice steady. H. He resumes walking, heading now toward the apple tree, where you reread the chest last night. Your stomach knots with tension, the turning of seasons, the falling of kings, the rising of common men to uncommon stations. He glances back at you, all part of God's plan, of course. You follow, fighting the urge to run ahead, to distract him somehow from his path toward your buried secret. But the monk stops before reaching the tree, turning instead toward the southeast corner of your land, the acre the abbot intends to claim for quarrying. This area in particular, he says, making an elaborate sign of the cross over the snow-covered ground, must be thoroughly blessed. The abbot has plans for it, so I've been told. You manage to reply. Brother Thomas completes his circuit of your fields in silence, the only sound, the crunch of snow beneath your feet, and the distant call of crows from the bare oak trees beyond your property. When he finishes, he turns to you with an unreadable expression. Fletcher, he says, his voice suddenly lower, more intimate. How much do you know of the old ways? The question sends ice through your veins that has nothing to do with the winter cold. The old ways can only mean pre-Christian beliefs, paganism, witchcraft, heresy. Even discussing such things can lead to dangerous accusations. Nothing, brother, you reply quickly. I'm a God-fearing Christian man. He studies you for a long moment, then nods slightly. Of course, as are we all in these enlightened times. His tone suggests something different from his words, yet knowledge of the past is not itself a sin, merely the practice of forbidden rites. You say nothing, afraid that any response might incriminate you further. There are stories, Brother Thomas continues, seemingly unbothered by your silence, of objects from the time before Christ, objects of great power, neither holy nor unholy in themselves, but dangerous in the wrong hands. The glowing orb flashes in your memory. Just stories, surely say, perhaps. The monk adjusts his satchel, or perhaps not. The church fathers teach us that all tales contain seeds of truth wrapped, though they may be in the chaff of superstition. He begins walking back toward your house, forcing you to follow. Should you ever encounter such an object, Fletcher, hypothetically, of course your Christian duty would be to bring it to the monastery for safekeeping. Of course, you agree automatically, although, he adds, glancing sideways at you, there are some who say the monasteries are not the only proper guardians of such things. Some believe these objects belong to the land itself and to those who work it. Your step falters. Is this some kind of test? A trap to lure you into admitting heretical thoughts? I wouldn't know about such beliefs. You say carefully. Brother Thomas stops, turning to face you fully. No, I suppose you wouldn't. He sigh, his breath a white plume in the cold air. The blessing is complete. Your fields are protected from whatever may lie beneath them. Thank you, brother. I'll take my leave now. The abbot will expect my report before vespers. A chill that has nothing to do with the snow runs through you. Report on the blessing, he clarifies, though his slight smile suggests other meanings. Nothing more. As you watch him trudge away across the snow-covered path toward the village, confusion swirls in your mind, like the snowflakes that have begun to fall again, light and tentative. Was he warning you, threatening you, offering some kind of alliance? Tom appears from the barn, watching the monk's departing figure with narrowed eyes. What did he want? To bless the fields, you reply, still staring after Brother Thomas. And to talk in riddles. Did he go near the apple tree? No. You turn to Tom, lowering your voice, though. There's no one to overhear. But he knows something, or suspects at least. Tom spits into the snow. Monks always think they know more than they do. It's their way. Perhaps he's right. Perhaps Brother Thomas was simply trying to unsettle you, to provoke a confession of some kind. Yet his words about objects of power, about guardians other than the monasteries, nag at your thoughts. I need to go to the village. You decide suddenly. We need salt anyway. And news. Tom nods. The village is the center of information, gossip, rumors, warnings passed from mouth to mouth, faster than any official proclamation. If there are stories about glowing orbs or Roman treasures, someone there will know them. Take the sled, he suggests. Roads will be bad after the snow. Inside, you explain your plan to Eliza, who is already at her spinning wheel, the daily work of turning wool into thread that never ends for Tudor women. The village, she repeats, her hands never stopping their rhythmic movement. Today the path will be treacherous. We need salt, you remind her. And I want to speak with Father Stephen. Something in your tone must alert her that this is more than a routine trip. She studies your face, then nods slowly. Take Agnes. She suggests she should make her confession before Advent begins. It's a sensible suggestion, the kind of ordinary family errand that won't raise suspicions. But you hesitate. Do you want your daughter involved in whatever is happening? Then again, leaving her behind might put her at greater risk if the abbot sends more monks to search your farm. Good thought. You agree. Finally, we'll stop at the church first. Agnes is delighted by the unexpected outing, bouncing with excitement as you harness your old plow horse to the small wooden sled. At 6, trips to the village are rare adventures, even if they include the tedium of confession. The journey is slow going. The snow is deeper than it looked. From your farmyard, in places reaching the horse's knees, the sled runners cut through the white blanket, leaving parallel tracks behind you like the trails of giant serpents. Agnes sits wrapped in an extra blanket, her nose and cheeks red with cold, despite the woolen scarf covering the lower half of her face. Papa, she says after a while, her voice muffled. Is Brother Thomas a good man? The question startles you. He's a man of God, you answer automatically, the safe response. But is he good? She persists. Mama says some men of God think more about power than about Jesus. You glance at your daughter, surprised by her perception and by Eliza's candor. Such observations, while perhaps true, are dangerous if spoken in the wrong company. Your mother is a wise woman, you say carefully, but we must respect the church all the same. Agnes considers this, her breath puffing out in small clouds, like we respect the bull in the village. Common, she suggests, because he's dangerous, not because he's good. Despite your worries, you laugh. Something like that, though. Don't repeat that comparison to Father Stephen. The mention of the village priest brings a smile to her face. Unlike the monastery, monk's Father Stephen is beloved by his parishioners, a rotund, red-faced man who understands the hardships of rural life and interprets church doctrine with a practical flexibility that sometimes borders on the heretical. The village appears ahead, a cluster of timber-framed houses and shops around a central green, smoke rising from every chimney into the gray winter sky. At its heart stands the parish church, its square tower visible from miles around, a symbol of God's presence in everyday life. Unlike the grand monastery buildings, the village church is a humble structure built of local stone with a roof of wooden shingles now covered in snow. Yet for the villagers, it's the center of both spiritual and social life, the place where they worship, celebrate, gossip, and mark every significant moment from birth to death. You guide the horse toward the church first, helping Agnes down from the sled. The building's interior is noticeably warmer than outside, though still cold enough that your breath clouds before you. Candles flicker in iron holders, casting wavering shadows on whitewashed walls, decorated with simple paintings of saints and biblical scenes. Father Stephen emerges from the vestry, his substantial girth wrapped in worn clerical robes, a cup of something steaming in his hand. Will Fletcher, he booms, his voice echoing in the empty church. And little Agnes, too. What brings you to God's house on this frozen day? Agnes needs to make her confession before Advent, you explain, watching your daughter curtsy to the priest as she's been taught. And I hoped for a word with you, Father. Of course, of course. He sets down his cup, small beer by the smell of it, and beckons Agnes toward the confessional, a simple wooden booth near the altar. Ladies first. Then I'll hear your sins, child, though I doubt they're worth the journey through all this snow. While Agnes makes her confession, a brief affair for a 6-year-old whose worst transgressions are likely disobedience or petty squabbles with her brother. You wander the church, your eyes drawn to the painted scenes on the walls. Most are familiar Bible stories: Noah's Ark, Daniel in the lion's den, Christ's crucifixion. But one catches your attention. In the shadowy corner near the font, partially obscured by a wooden pillar, is a faded painting you've never noticed before. It shows a man in Roman dress, holding what appears to be a glowing sphere, his face illuminated by its light. Your heart pounds as you move closer, straining to see details in the dim light. Around the Roman figure stand people in simple clothing, farmers by their dress, reaching toward the orb with expressions of wonder. Ah, you found our little mystery. Father Stephen's voice makes you jump. You turn to find him standing behind you, Agnes at his side, looking bored now that her confession is complete. What is it? You ask, trying to keep your voice casual. No one really knows, the priest admits, studying the painting. It was here when I arrived 20 years ago, already old and fading then. Some say it depicts a Roman general bringing the light of civilization to Britain. Others claim it's a pagan story that somehow escaped the whitewashing when the church was converted from Catholic to Reformed and back again. He chuckles. I rather like it. Whatever it is, adds a bit of mystery to our humble parish. The orb. You press, unable to help yourself. What is it supposed to be? Father Stephen shrugs his substantial shoulders. The sun, perhaps, or some Roman treasure. The old sacristan used to tell a tale about a magical object buried by the Romans when they fled, something with the power to grant wishes or heal the sick. But that's just village superstition. He crosses himself hastily, as if to ward off accusations of heresy. Just superstition. You agree, doing the same. Or now then, he says, changing the subject. You wanted a word? You glance at Agnes, who is now examining the baptismal font with childish curiosity. Something private. Understanding dawns in the priest's eyes. Agnes, my child, he calls, would you be so kind as to check if any candles need replacing on the altar? It's important work, preparing God's house for Sunday. She nods solemnly, pleased by the responsibility, and moves toward the altar, out of earshot, but still within sight. What troubles you, Will? Father Stephen asks, his voice lower now. Is it the abbot's plan to quarry your land? I heard about that. Criminal, if you ask me, though. Of course, I never said such a thing. He winks. It's related, you admit, choosing your words carefully. Father, what do you know about objects from the Roman times? Things that might seem you hesitate, unsure how to describe the orb without sounding like a madman or a heretic. Father Stephen supplies, his bushy eyebrows rising. This is about more than an old painting. I take it, you say nothing, which is answer enough. The priest sigh, running a hand through his thinning hair. Come to the rectory, he decides. Agnes can warm herself by my fire while we talk. Some conversations shouldn't happen even in an empty church. The rectory is attached to the church by a covered walkway, a small but comfortable house that serves as both Father Stephen's home and the parish office. A fire burns cheerfully in the hearth, and the single room smells pleasantly of cooking and the dried herbs hanging from the rafters. Agnes is given a small honey cake and a seat by the fire, where she's soon contentedly drowsy from the warmth. Father Stephen leads you to the far corner, where a small desk holds his parish records and a few precious books. So he says quietly, you found something, haven't you? Something Roman, something that glows. The directness of his question leaves you speechless for a moment. How did you? You're not the first, the priest interrupts, pulling a worn leather volume from beneath a stack of papers. Not in this parish, at least. He opens the book, revealing handwritten pages in a spidery script. My predecessor kept records of more than just births, deaths, and marriages. He recorded the unusual happenings in the parish as well, things the monastery wouldn't approve of him documenting. You lean closer, trying to make out the faded writing. The page he's open to shows a crude drawing, similar to the painting in the church, a spherical object emanating rays of light. In the year of our Lord 1462, Father Stephen reads, a farmer named John Thatcher unearthed while plowing a strange globe of crystal that shone within a light. He kept it hidden for a fortnight, during which time his ailing wife recovered her health. His barren fields produced grain, and his empty purse filled with silver pennies. When the abbot's men came searching, Thatcher fled with the globe, never to be seen again in these parts. He looks up from the book, his expression grave. There are 3 more such accounts in this volume, spanning 2 centuries. Always a farmer, always a glowing orb, always sudden good fortune, followed by disappearance or disaster when the church authorities learned of it. Your mouth is dry. What is it? I don't know. Father Stephen admits, my theological training says it must be either divine or demonic. There is no third option in church doctrine. He closes the book carefully, but my heart wonders if there might be things in God's creation that are simply beyond our understanding, neither good nor evil in themselves, but powerful all the same. It's dangerously close to heresy. This suggestion of supernatural forces outside the church's neat categorization, yet it aligns with what you've seen, and with Brother Thomas's cryptic words about objects that are neither holy nor unholy. If someone had found such an object, you say hypothetically, what would you advise them to do? Father Stephen's gaze is piercing. Officially, as a priest of the Holy Church, I would be obligated to advise them to surrender it to the proper religious authorities. He pauses. Unofficially, as a man who has watched those same authorities grind good people into poverty while claiming to do God's work, he shrugs expressively. The monastery will dig up my field come Candlemas, you say. If there was something buried there, they would find it, the priest finishes, and whatever power it possesses would belong to the abbot, not to the man who discovered it. You nod slowly, understanding the unspoken advice. If you want to keep the orb, you must move it somewhere the monastery won't search, or you must use its power, whatever that may be, before they take it from you. Thank you, Father, you say, for the historical information. He smiles slightly. History is a great teacher, Will Fletcher. Now, I believe you mentioned needing salt. The market will be closing soon. With this weather. Taking his cue, you wake Agnes from her drowsy state by the fire and thank the priest for his hospitality. As you turn to leave, he places a hand on your shoulder. Be careful, he says quietly. Power draws the powerful like honey draws flies. And remember, what matters most is not what you find, but what you do with it. With those cryptic words echoing in your mind, you lead Agnes back to the sled and continue to the village market, a small open area near the green where local merchants and farmers sell their goods. Today, only a few hardy souls brave the cold. A spice merchant wrapped in furs, a woman selling wool and cloth, a blacksmith displaying ironwork. As Agnes examines the cloth, merchants' wares, simple homespun wool, nothing like the fine fabrics worn by the wealthy, but still a luxury for a farmer's daughter. You purchase salt from the spice merchant, who also deals in such necessities. Bad winter coming, the merchant comments as he measures out your purchase. Birds flying south earlier than usual, so it seems you agree. Counting out the precious few coins this transaction requires. Any other news? The merchant glances around, then leans closer. Kings raising taxes again, they say. And there's strange talk from up north. Lights in the sky, crops growing out of season, some calling it miracles, others. He makes a warding gesture against witchcraft. Your skin prickles. Just talk. Surely, maybe. He doesn't sound convinced. But the monasteries sent men to investigate, looking for something specific from what I hear. Before you can ask more, Agnes returns, her exploration of the cloth merchant stall complete. Can we go home now, Papa? My feet are cold. Yes, sweetheart. You nod farewell to the merchant, tucking away this new information alongside everything else you've learned today. As you head home through the deepening afternoon, the sled cutting fresh tracks in snow that has begun to fall again, Agnes dozes against your side, wrapped in blankets. Your mind races with possibilities and dangers. The glowing orb is clearly more significant than you first realized. Others have found similar objects before. They've brought good fortune, healing, abundance, wealth, but also danger from those who would take such power for themselves. And now, the monastery is actively searching for these objects, not just on your land, but across the region. Brother Thomas's blessing was indeed a searching, as you suspected, and the abbot's plan to quarry your field is likely no coincidence. The question remains, what will you do with this knowledge? With the orb itself? By the time your farmhouse comes into view, smoke rising reassuringly from its chimney, you've made your decision. Tonight, once the household sleeps, you'll dig up the orb again, not to rebury it elsewhere. That's too risky with the monastery watching so closely. No, you'll take it out. Look at it properly. Try to understand what power it holds and how you might use it to save your farm, your family, your future. As the horse plots the final distance home, fat snowflakes catching in its mane and on Agnes's eyelashes, you wonder if this is how it began for John Thatcher and the others, with a simple decision to look more closely at something extraordinary. Did they know the risks they were taking? Did they understand how their lives would change? Probably not. But then, neither do you. All you know is that you can't surrender this chance. Perhaps your only chance to change your family's fortune. The monastery bells ring in the distance, calling the monks to evening prayer. Their sound carries across the snow-covered fields, a reminder of the power that has governed your life since birth. But perhaps, just perhaps, that power is about to shift. The house is alive with activity when you return. Eliza stokes the fire, while Edward chases the farm cat around the table legs. Tom and John stamp snow from their boots by the door, their cheeks red from cold. The familiar scene of your household going about its daily business should comfort you, but your mind is too full of orbs and mysteries and warnings. You were gone a while, Eliza remarks, taking the small sack of salt from your hands. Or roads were bad, you reply, helping a sleepy Agnes remove her snow-crusted outer garments. And Father Stephen had much to say. Something in your tone must alert her. She gives you a searching look, but asks no questions, not with so many ears listening. Did you get everything? Instead, salt news and a clear conscience for our daughter. You say, with forced lightness, a successful journey. She nods, turning back to the fire where a pot of something bubbles. Good. You're just in time for dinner. The midday meal is the main one of the chew day. By 11 Suisse, everyone has been working for 6 hours or more and needs substantial food to continue through the afternoon. Today, it's peas pottage, dried peas simmered with whatever vegetables could be spared, and a small piece of salt pork for flavor. There's barley bread too, dark and dense, and small beer for everyone, even the children. In wealthier households, there might be several courses with roasted meats and pies and puddings. But for tenant farmers, one hearty dish that fills the belly is the best that can be managed on ordinary days. The abbot sent 3 monks to the miller's farm yesterday, Tom says as you eat. Searching for something, Joan Miller said. Your spoon pauses halfway to your mouth. Did they find it? Tom shrugs. Joan didn't say, but they dug up part of the kitchen garden, ruined her winter kale. Why would monks dig up kale? Agnes asks, her face scrunched in confusion. They weren't looking for kale, silly, Edward says, with the superiority of his 4 years. They were looking for treasure. Treasure? Agnes's eyes widen, like golden jewels. That's enough, Eliza says firmly. Eat your pottage before it gets cold. The children return to their food, but the adults exchange meaningful glances. The abbot's search is expanding. It's only a matter of time before they come to your farm, and not just for a symbolic blessing next time. I'll need to check the apple tree after dinner, you say carefully. Make sure that broken branch isn't going to fall on someone's head. Tom nods slightly, understanding your meaning. The chest needs to be moved again, somewhere even farther from prying eyes. The meal continues with talk of more ordinary matters. The need to repair a hole in the chicken coop, whether the remaining turnips should be stored in the root cellar or kept in the kitchen for immediate use, if the snow will last or melt before Christmas. These mundane concerns are the heartbeat of Tudor life. Weather, food, repairs, planning, an endless cycle of work, broken only by church festivals and the rhythms of the agricultural year. After eating, the household disperses to their afternoon tasks. In summer, everyone would return to the fields, working until sunset. But winter days are different, with darkness falling by mid-afternoon. Much of the work moves indoors. Eliza and Agnes sit by the window where the light is strongest, spinning wool into yarn, an endless task that occupies most of a Tudor woman's spare moments. Edward plays quietly with wooden animals carved by Tom during last winter's long evenings. John mends a harness, his tongue poking out of the corner of his mouth as he concentrates on pushing the thick needle through tough leather. You and Tom head outside, ostensibly to check on the animals and that broken apple tree branch. The afternoon is already fading toward dusk. The sky heavy with the promise of more snow. We need to move it tonight, you say quietly as you feed hay to the cow. Somewhere they won't think to look. Tom nods. Pitchfork paused mid-motion. But where? They've been to the miller's already. They're searching systematically. It's a good question. Where can you hide something from men who have the authority to search any building, any field, any corner of your life? Not on the farm, you decide. Somewhere else entirely. The woods, Tom suggests. There's that old hollow oak by the stream. You shake your head. Too damp, and animals might dig it up. The church. Then he says, lowering his voice further, though there's no one to overhear. No one would look for it in God's house. The idea has merit. Father Stephen seems sympathetic, and the monastery would be unlikely to search the village church without good reason. But hiding a potentially pagan artifact in a church feels like a deeper sacrilege than simply keeping it buried in your field. I don't know. You say uncertain. Let me think on it. Tom shrugs. Don't think too long. That brother Thomas didn't strike me as the patient sort. As dusk settles over the farm, the family gathers again for the evening meal. A simpler affair than dinner, usually just bread and cheese, and perhaps some dried fruit. Tonight, Eliza has made a treat. Small cakes of oats and honey baked in the embers of the fire. What's the occasion, you ask? Surprised by this luxury, Agnes helped Father Stephen clean the altar candle holders. She explains. He gave her the honey as payment. You raise an eyebrow at your daughter, who grins proudly. Did he now? Very generous of him. He said to share it with everyone, Agnes says, though her expression suggests she'd rather have kept it all for herself, and to remember that sweetness comes to those who serve others. You and Eliza exchange a glance. Is this some kind of message from the priest? A hint about the orb, perhaps, or simply a pious platitude taught to a child. The evening passes slowly. Tom whittleless by the fire, creating a new toy for Edward. John mends his torn hose, squinting in the dim light of the rushlights. Eliza continues her endless spinning, the wheel creaking rhythmically. The children, unusually subdued, play a quiet game with pebbles and a marked piece of leather. Every moment feels stretched, your awareness heightened by anticipation of what's to come. The weight of your secret, the orb, the chest, the potential it represents sits heavy on your shoulders. Finally, it's time for bed. The children climb the ladder to the sleeping loft first, followed by Eliza. Tom and John roll out their pallets near the dying fire, their breathing soon deepening into sleep. You lie awake beside Eliza, waiting. Her hand finds yours in the darkness. Whatever it is, she whispers so softly, you can barely hear. Be careful. So, she knows or suspects, at least, that something significant is happening. Of course she does. 16 years of marriage has taught her to read the subtle signs of your worry, your distraction. I will. You promise, squeezing her hand. When the house is silent, except for the soft breathing of sleepers and the occasional pop from the banked fire, you slip out of bed once more. This time, you take the small iron-bound box from the corner, the one that holds your few valuables, and tuck it under your arm. Outside, the night is clear and bitterly cold, the snow frozen into a crust that crunches beneath your feet. Stars blaze overhead, countless points of light in the black velvet sky. Your breath forms clouds that hang momentarily in the still air before dissipating. The apple tree stands like a sentinel at the edge of the garden, its bare branches etched against the starlit snow. You kneel beside it, brushing away the loose snow, covering the spot where you buried the chest. The ground is frozen solid. You've brought a small iron prier, and it takes all your strength to break through the icy crust. Beneath the soil is still relatively soft, protected from the deepest frost. You dig quickly, fingers numbing despite your woolen mittens. The chest appears just as you left it, small, ancient, unremarkable, except for what it contains. You lift it carefully, surprised again by how light it is, and tuck it under your arm alongside your own box of valuables. But where to take it? The hollow oak Tom suggested the church, some other hiding place. A thought strikes you. The best place to hide something is often in plain sight, disguised as something ordinary. Your own locked box, the one that contains your few precious possessions, is just large enough to hold the smaller chest. Instead of taking it elsewhere, you return to the house, moving as silently as possible across the creaking floorboards. In the dim glow of the banked fire, you open your box and carefully place the ancient chest inside, then lock it once more and return it to its usual corner. There, hidden in plain sight, the monastery might search your farm, but they're unlikely to demand you open your personal strongbox. And if they do, well, you'll face that problem when it comes. But before returning to bed, curiosity overcomes caution. You need to see the orb again, to understand what you're risking. Everything to protect. You take the box to the far corner of the room, where a dying ember in the fire casts just enough light to see by, yet not enough to wake the sleepers. With trembling fingers, you unlock the box and remove the ancient chest. The wood is dark with age, the metal bindings green with verdigris. It looks utterly ordinary, the sort of container a Roman soldier might have used to store personal items. Nothing about its exterior suggests the marvel within. You open the lid just a crack, and immediately golden light spills out, illuminating your hands with an otherworldly glow. Glancing nervously at the sleeping forms of Tom and John, you open it just wide enough to see the orb itself. It sits nestled in what looks like velvet, though the fabric is so ancient it's impossible to be certain. Perfectly round, about the size of a large apple, it appears to be made of crystal or glass, but clearer than any you've ever seen, and from its center radiates light, not the flickering orange-yellow of fire or the harsh white of lightning, but a warm golden glow that pulses gently like a heartbeat. Despite your fear, you find yourself reaching for it. Something about the light calls to you, invites your touch. Your fingertips brush its surface, which is neither hot nor cold, but seems to vibrate slightly, as if alive. The moment your skin makes contact, the light intensifies, not painfully bright, but filling your vision, washing over you like summer sunshine. A strange sensation floods your body, a tingling warmth that starts where your fingers touch the orb and spreads up your arm across your chest, throughout your entire being. For a moment, that seems both instantaneous and eternal. You feel different, lighter, as if some burden you've carried so long you'd forgotten its weight has suddenly lifted. The chronic ache in your lower back from years of bending over a plow gone, the stiffness in your right knee from an old injury vanished. Even your vision seemed sharper, the dim corner suddenly as clear as midday. Then, as quickly as it began, the sensation fades. The light retreats back into the orb, still glowing, but contained once more. You blink, disoriented, your heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. What just happened? What is this thing? A soft sound makes you jump. Tom has shifted in his sleep, turning over on his pallet. You quickly close the chest, hiding the golden light, and return it to your box. Your hands are shaking as you lock it and replace it in the corner. Back in bed beside Eliza, you lie awake for hours, your mind racing, the sensation of wellness of renewal lingers in your body. You flex your right hand, the one that touched the orb, and marvel at how the joints move without the usual stiffness, how even the old scar across your palm from a scythe accident seems faded. Did the orb heal you? Is that its power? The ability to cure ailments? If so, it's worth more than gold. In a world where most illnesses go untreated, except for folk remedies and prayer, true healing is beyond price. But is it divine or demonic? A blessing or a curse? Father Stephen's warning echoes in your mind. Power draws the powerful like honey draws flies. If the abbot learns what the orb can do, he'll stop at nothing to possess it. Morning comes too soon as always, but for the first time in years, you wake without the usual chorus of aches and pains. You sit up, marveling at how easily your body responds, how clear your head feels, despite the short, troubled sleep. Eliza notices immediately you're moving differently. She observes as you dress. Did something happen to your back? Must have slept well. You deflect, though her knowing look suggests she doesn't believe you. Downstairs, the day begins as always. Fire to light, animals to feed, bread to bake. But everything feels subtly altered. Colors seem more vivid, sounds clearer. Even the coarse bread and thin porridge of breakfast taste richer somehow. Is it the orb's influence? Or simply your imagination? Your senses heightened by the extraordinary events of the past 2 days. As you step outside to check on the animals, you notice something odd. Despite the frozen ground and recent snow, the apple tree, the one where you first buried the chest, has a single green bud on one branch in December. In England, you stare at it, a chill that has nothing to do with the winter cold running down your spine. The tree is responding to the orb's presence, awakening out of season. If anyone from the monastery sees this unnatural growth ill, Tom's voice calls from the barn. Come quick. You hurry over, worried about what new problem might have arisen. But Tom's face shows amazement, not alarm. The cow, he says, gesturing inside. Her eye, it's completely healed. Sure enough, the brown cow's infected eye, which yesterday was crusted and weeping, now looks perfectly normal. She chews her hay contentedly, showing no sign of the ailment that had threatened her health and your livelihood. Oh, how, Tom whispers. Eliza's pus wasn't that powerful. You shake your head, feigning ignorance, though your mind immediately connects this miraculous recovery to the orb's golden light. God's will, you say, the standard Tudor explanation for anything unexplainable. Tom gives you a skeptical look, but doesn't press the issue. Well, whatever the cause, it's good news. One less worry. Throughout the morning, you notice other small changes around the farm. The chickens have laid twice their usual number of eggs. The fire burns hotter, despite using less wood. Even the patch of ice that always forms by the well has melted, making water collection easier. None of these things is dramatic enough to raise alarm to suggest witchcraft or divine intervention. They could all be coincidences or simply good fortune, but you know better. The orb's influence is spreading through your farm, bringing health and abundance, even in the dead of winter. By midday, Eliza has noticed too. She pulls you aside as you come in for dinner, her voice low to avoid the children's ears. Something's happening, she says without preamble. The hens, the fire, the cow's eye, even you. You're moving like a man half your age. There's no point denying it. She knows you too well. I found something, you admit, keeping your voice to a whisper. In the field, something valuable. Her eyes widened slightly. The chest Tom was talking about. So she overheard. Of course she did. In a small Tudor house, privacy is almost impossible. Yes, you confirm. But it's not what we thought. Not coins or jewelry. What then? How do you explain a glowing orb of unknown origin and power? It sounds like madness, like witchcraft, like the kind of talk that gets people burned. It's difficult to describe you, Hedge, but I think it's helpful to us, to the farm. Eliza studies your face, searching for truth. Is it dangerous? Will it bring trouble? Only if the monastery finds it, you reply honestly. They're looking for it or something like it. That's what Brother Thomas was really doing here. That's why they want to quarry our land. She absorbs this, her practical mind calculating risks and benefits as she always does. May, where is it now? MM in my strong box, hidden in plain sight. She nods slowly, while good, but Will. She places a hand on your arm. Be careful how you use it. Whatever it is, power changes people, even good people. Her wisdom, as always, cuts to the heart of the matter. The orb offers solutions to problems that have seemed insurmountable. Poverty, illness, the monastery's control. But at what cost? What might you become if you surrender fully to its influence? I'll be careful, you promise, covering her hand with yours. The midday meal is unusually cheerful. The pottage is the same as always. Peas, turnips, a bit of salt pork, but somehow it tastes richer, more satisfying. Even John, normally reserved, laughs at Edward's childish jokes. The atmosphere in the small house feels lighter, warmer, as if some invisible cloud has lifted. Is this also the orb's doing, creating harmony, as well as health and abundance? Or is it simply that worry takes a toll, and now that your most pressing concerns, the cow's eye, your aching back, the winter stores have been alleviated? Everyone feels the difference after the meal. Tudor custom dictates a brief rest before afternoon work begins. The children curl up on pallets near the fire. Tom dozes in the corner. John goes to check on the animals one last time. You should rest too. The shortened days of winter mean every moment of daylight is precious for outdoor work. But your mind is too full. Instead, you sit at the table, Eliza beside you, both of you speaking in hushed tones. Father Stephen knew something about it. You tell her, describing your conversation with the priest and the strange painting in the church. He said others have found similar objects before, that they brought good fortune, but also danger. Eliza listens intently, her nimble fingers never stopping their work as she mends a tear in Edward's tunic. And he advised you to keep it rather than surrender it to the monastery. Not in so many words, you admit, but he made his meaning clear enough. She considers this. Father Stephen is a good man, practical. If he thinks this object is safe to keep, I trust his judgment. She pauses, but the abbot won't stop searching. No, you agree. And now they're digging up farms. They went to the miller's yesterday. Then we need a better hiding place than your strongbox, she says decisively. Somewhere they'd never think to look. Or she hesitates. We need to use whatever power it has quickly, before they find it. The second option has already occurred to you. If the orb can heal ailments and make crops flourish, what else might it do? Could it somehow free you from the monastery's control permanently? I touched it, you confessed last night. That's why my back doesn't hurt anymore. That's why the cow's eye healed. I think its power somehow spread, Instead of the fear or disapproval you half expected, Eliza's expression shows fascination. You should touch it again, she suggests, but with purpose. This time, with a specific need in mind. Like what? She gestures around your modest home. Like this. Our teeny, the monastery's control. The acre they plan to take. Her voice drops even lower. What if we could buy our own land? Be free of them entirely. It's the dream of every tenant farmer to own land outright, to be truly independent. But in Tudor England, social mobility is limited. Peasants remain peasants. Tenants remain tenants. The idea that the orb might change this fundamental reality is simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. Even if we had the money, you say cautiously, the abbot would never sell to us. Not to us. No, Eliza agrees. But there's land beyond the monastery's holdings. Sir William's estate borders their land to the north, and I've heard he's deep in debt from gambling. He might sell a parcel. You stare at her, amazed, as always, by her practical wisdom, her ability to see paths forward where you see only obstacles. It would take more money than we could earn in 10 years. You remind her. Yes, she says simply, if we were earning it by ordinary means. The implication is clear. The orb has already demonstrated unusual powers. Might it also provide the means to accumulate wealth rapidly? Before you can pursue this tantalizing possibility, there's a commotion outside, the sound of horses and men's voices. You rush to the door, Eliza close behind. 3 riders enter your yard, monastery servants by their dress, though not monks themselves. Behind them comes a cart drawn by a sturdy horse, empty except for shovels and pickaxes. Master Fletcher calls the lead rider a thin man with a scar across one cheek. That's me, you reply, stepping forward while signaling Eliza to go back inside. Whatever this is, you don't want her involved. The abbot sends his compliments. The man says, without dismounting, we've come to survey the southeast acre for quarrying. Your blood runs cold survey. But the abbot said the work wouldn't begin until after Candlemas. The man shrugs. Plans change. We're to mark the boundaries today and begin exploratory digging tomorrow. Tomorrow. Not 3 months from now, as promised, but tomorrow. Your mind races. Is this because Brother Thomas sensed something during his blessing? Have they somehow learned about the orb? The ground's frozen solid. You protest. You'll break your picks on it. Not our concern, the man replies indifferently. We have our orders. As the men dismount and begin unloading their equipment, you stand helplessly watching. They have the abbot's authority. You have no right to prevent them from accessing any part of the land you rent from the monastery. The orb's discovery has accelerated everything. The abbot's suspicions, the quarrying plans, the search for Roman artifacts. Time is running out faster than you could have imagined. Inside, Eliza meets your gaze with understanding. No words are needed. Tonight, you'll have to use the orb again, not just to heal minor ailments or make the chickens lay more eggs, but to somehow find a way out of the monastery's reach before it's too late. As the short winter day fades toward dusk, the monastery men finish marking out the acre with wooden stakes and rope. It's precisely where you initially found the chest, either a chilling coincidence or evidence that they know more than they're revealing. We'll return at first light, the scarred man informs you as they prepare to leave. The abbot himself may accompany us. You nod, not trusting yourself to speak without revealing your fear and anger. They mount their horses and depart, the empty cart rattling behind them over the frozen ruts of the track. Tom joins you, watching them disappear into the gathering darkness. Tomorrow, he says grimly. That doesn't give us much time. No, you agree. It doesn't. What will you do? You consider your limited options. Run where to with winter setting in, and a family to support. Fight against the monastery's authority, backed by law and custom. Hide the orb somewhere else. They'll just keep searching until they find it. There's only one path forward, though it terrifies you. You must use the orb's power fully, deliberately, with clear intent. You must ask it for what you truly need, freedom from the monastery's control. I'm going to solve this, you tell Tom. Tonight, he studies your face, then nods slowly. You're going to use it, aren't you? The thing in the chest. Yes. Is that wise? We don't know what it is, where it came from. We know it heals, you counter. We know it brings abundance. What harm has it done so far? Tom doesn't look convinced. Power always has a price, Will. Always. It's almost the same warning Eliza gave. Almost the same warning Father Stephen implied. Yet what choice do you have? The monastery men are coming tomorrow. The abbot himself may accompany them. If they find where the orb was buried, they'll tear your farm apart looking for it. Sometimes you say quietly, the price of doing nothing is higher than the price of taking a risk. Tom sigh, recognizing the truth in your words. What do you need from me? Keep watch tonight, you tell him. Wake me if anyone approaches the farm. As night falls and the household settles into its evening routine, simple supper, stories by the fire, prayers before bed, you find yourself watching your family with a new intensity. Agnes teaching Edward a clapping game. Eliza's face in the firelight, lined with work and worry, but still beautiful to you. John laughing at Tom's exaggerated tale of a fishing expedition gone wrong. This small world, these few people, they're everything to you. Whatever power the orb possesses, whatever risk using it entails, you'll face it for them to secure their future, to free them from the constant fear of poverty, eviction, starvation that haunts every Tudor tenant farmer tonight.